Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the virtual conference 2021. My name is Siobhan Owens, for those of you who don't know me. I am a dog trainer from Dublin, Ireland. I want to give a big shout out to Ruby, who asked me to come along and give a talk here today. It was in agreement, it could be something lighthearted, so don't expect anything else serious. If you haven't got a glass of vino, do go and get one. I certainly have. Shin Chin. And happy St. Patrick's Day to anybody from Dublin, Ireland, or from Ireland or anywhere around the world that is listening to me. Please drop in the comments. Hi Nikki, hi Ursula. Please drop in the comments where you guys are from down below if you're joining in. As I said, this talk will be something lighthearted and fun. Sometimes when we go out to clients, they can often be embarrassed about situations they've been in or embarrassed about their dog's behaviour. And I often reassure them with some little anecdotes of stuff that I've been involved in or my dogs have done on me. So it's nice to have those lighthearted comments and those comebacks because it does reassure people. So that's exactly what the talk is today. It is on embarrassing moments and trauma. And you're saying trauma, how can that be lighthearted? Don't worry, we will get there. So I have 3 short stories that I'm going to share with you guys. The last story I may not necessarily share with clients, so that should keep you intrigued at least until the end. So as it is 8 o'clock and I know people are logging on to join as I'm speaking there, I am going to get started. So my first story that I'm going to share with you is about my Papillon Maddie. Now, if anybody knows Papillons, they carry their tails up and over their back, and that will be relevant as we get to the end of this story. So Maddie is she's very special. She is very, very quirky. She's one of the quirkiest dogs I have ever owned. She'll never get into the car on your left side. It has to be your right side. She won't eat from a plastic bowl. She's very, very quirky, this dog is. So one of her little tricks that she likes to do is she likes to disappear just as you're putting the leads on. Hi Ruby, remind me to kill you for this afterwards. She likes to disappear just as you're putting the leads on. So you finish your walk in the park and you bring your dogs along and call them all in, go to put the leads on, and Madge is gone. So of course, being a dog trainer, I say that's fine. I see that behaviour. What we're going to do from now is, as soon as Madge comes along, I'm going to throw some treats on the ground, clip her on the lead, problem solved. But every now and then you get distracted, and as soon as you do, Madge will absolutely disappear. So, and of course, you know, as I said, it happens to all of us, and it's nice to have something to say to your clients that this is normal. Our dogs do these embarrassing things, but of course we should also acknowledge that they don't do these on purpose. They can't do it on purpose, but sometimes, just sometimes. So let me tell you what one of Madge's little tricks is. So 2 weeks ago, finish our walk and call all the dogs over. They all come over. I throw the sweeties on the ground, putting the leads on, and I look, and Madge is gone. And I'm in the middle of a field, and I've got about 50 feet of green space this way, and right behind me, and out this way there's about 35 feet of green space, followed by a public path that has a bus stop this side and a bus stop that side. And Madge has made her way all the way over there to have a poop on the path all the way over there away from me. Couldn't go here or here or here, had to be on the public path. And of course, there's people watching. There's a lady this side of the road standing here where Madge has almost parked herself. And there is a lady, maybe 3 or 4 other people on the other side of the road, and they're all waiting for buses. So this is in plain view. And why I mentioned about Madge's tail, Papillons having that tail that's carried up over their back, is that Madge just can't go and have a poop and it's done. Madge has to make a whole display. It's like an art form that she goes out and has this poop. So what she does is she finds her spot, which takes about 10 minutes as it is. And then when she finds a spot, she does a circle and a circle and a circle. And then she starts walking in a straight line. And she kind of looks like this little mini T-Rex because her legs come in like this. She hunches over her back. The tail is up. The bum is exposed. And she's creeping along the path towards the lady who's standing at the bus stop. And I can see her, of course, there's no way she's going to come mid-poop, so you can forget about that. So I have to take the other dogs on the leads all the way across. The people on the opposite side of the road are obviously watching this and muttering how disgusting it is and what have you. So I get over there, and you kind of have to make a jolly out of it, don't you? You have to make as if it's not a big deal, and you're like, oh, you silly thing, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, all the way over here to have a poop, typical. And you're saying it, but really that's not what you want to be saying. So she makes this big drama, tail up, bum exposed to everyone that they can see, walking along the path towards the lady at the bus stop to drop out a nugget. It is literally this size. And you clean it up, and Maggie's like, oh, hi Mum, when did you get here? That was grand, wasn't it? So as I said, we know they can't do these things on purpose, but why there? Why that side of the road, opposite all the people at the bus stop, terrifying this woman who's standing at the bus stop and making this big display? I know she's quirky, I know, but really, not one of my other dogs do that, and I have a lot of dogs. So that was my first intro, simple story. As I said, they all embarrass us. My next one, a little bit more detailed. I was afraid to get collies for a long time. I was afraid to live with a dog that was smarter than me. And then I got 2 collies who are smart, but they are also quite nice to live with, actually. Put a bit of work in them and they're fine. And then we got a poodle. And he's a whole different level. This poodle is evil genius level. And he is the dog where you have done all of your recall training. You've done all of your high value treats, your favorite tuggy toy that you never let him keep so he doesn't lose the value. You've kept him on a long line for ages. You've tested him around distractions, around people, around dogs. And you're like, brilliant, he has this recall. And then every now and then he reminds you, that's right, it is surfing, Nikki, thank you. Every now and then he reminds you that he is nobody's slave. So this particular story happened Christmas a couple of years back, and what we were doing was we went for a walk 2 days after Christmas. You know, there's frost on the ground, you still love your husband, you don't want to kill him out in the garden yet, haven't spent 2 weeks over Christmas with him. Nobody else does that? No, just me. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, it was really nice. We're feeling all loved up, put the dogs into the van, go for a walk. And where we used to walk down by the river, we'd have to park, just pull in opposite this housing estate, in at the industrial estate, go underneath the railings, and then you get onto this lovely field and into the green to go for a walk. And everything was great, but I should have known. I should have known he was going to do something, and I wasn't quick enough. So probably brain is still full of Christmas cake and wine and what have you. So anyway, we park the car, we get the dogs out, and Finn comes out of the car still on the lead, and he just does this very subtle glance. It's just a, okay, I'll keep walking with you, Mum. So we get into the middle of the field, and I take the lead off them, and I start throwing the ball, and it looks like Finn is going to go for the ball. But he rapidly runs out for the ball, takes this right turn, runs straight past me, and heads back up underneath the railings that we've just come in from. And you're calling him, you know, all that training that you've done. Finn, come on, good boy, quick. Nothing. Nada. So I said to my husband, you best go and get him. I'll keep the other dogs entertained. So I'm entertaining the other dogs, and Jonathan walks out under the railing, starts approaching him. And as he starts approaching him, we can see this black bag being pulled across the path. And Jonathan said to me, oh, he's got something. Yeah, he's got something big. He's not going to come away from that. And as I said, we just come in off a dual carriageway. So what happens is, I said, oh, hang on, I'll put the dogs back into the car and we'll try and get them together. So I have to bring all the dogs back. They're getting cheated off their walk. Put them back into the van. And you walk up to him, up the Finn, and up to most dogs that you're trying to catch in this kind of manner. What have you got? What? Oh, that's amazing. Can I see? What is it? What's that? Of course, Finn is having none of it. As I said, evil genius. He is dead wide to what I'm at. Jonathan started to come around from behind him because we don't want them coming out on the road. And Finn is now pulling a black bag that we realise contains someone's Christmas turkey. They have dumped their huge, big Christmas turkey carcass, still with lots of meat and bits on it, into a bin bag at the corner. And Finn, of course, caught that as we got out of the van. And he is now trying to pull this out away from us so that we don't take it off him out onto the dual carriageway. So he gets into the middle of the road, and where I'm trying to be all calm, and you know when you're in the shops with your mum and yourself and your brother have had a little spat and you're killing each other, and mum says to you, "No kids, just hang on, we get home, don't worry, we'll sort it out later on." But that's not what she means. And I'm saying all of the nice things because I'm tired. He's going to be killed. Even though 2 days after Christmas was actually a working day. And of course, cars start to come along the road. One of them stops and flashes his lights at him. What's that supposed to mean? He's not going to say, "Oh, flashing lights, sorry about that, I shouldn't be in the middle of the road," and leave. Of course he wasn't. He's in the middle of the road, still trying to pull the turkey out of the black bag. Another car comes up the road. He's stopped. Everybody stopped having great old crack with this. Jonathan has now crossed the road and is trying to catch him from behind. So Finn gets his carcass, his prize, up onto the side pat and realises Jonathan's very close. He does this little glance, grabs something, which is a massive turkey drumstick, pulls it out, starts to run up into the field and up into this housing estate, which is obviously where the lovely turkey carcass has come from. So he's gone into the housing estate. So I said, "Okay, back off. Dog train our brain in now. You're going to make him panic and run. Let's get back into the van." So we got back into the van and we drove and parked the van at the entrance of the housing estate. So Jonathan got out and he was standing there watching, and I went into the housing estate to look for him. No sign of him. Cannot see him. Now I saw him going in. Cannot see Finn. So I start walking around the gardens, and I'm looking in the gardens, and I'm looking to see where he is. And next thing I find him. And you're not going to believe what he's doing. He's trying to bury this drumstick in someone's garden, 7:30 in the morning, 2 days after Christmas. Thankfully, their blinds, their curtains were still closed, and he's trying to dig this hole. Well, he sees me, and he takes off running 2-3 gardens up. So I see him in another garden, I back off, and I come around into this other person's garden. Thankfully, also the blinds are closed, and I see him and I reach over the wall to catch him. I just catch him by the collar as he's half buried his prize, his turkey drumstick, half into the garden. I just catch him by the collar and lift him up. And of course, you're still doing all your nice stuff. "Gotcha, aren't you a little maggot? Look at you. Oh, yes, you're a little maggot." Really, you don't want to say that to him. And I know we have to do all of our positive reinforcement stuff, and that's the only thing that you should be doing. But it was this half relief and this fear that he was going to be killed, and also the embarrassment. And that's why the title of this talk was The Embarrassing Situations. The embarrassment that this dog trainer's dog is in someone else's garden, digging a hole and burying their turkey drumstick. And then I had a weird thought. What if, like Pet Cemetery, where the animals come back alive, what if it happened to be the garden of the person who had dumped the turkey on the roadside? They come out that morning and they find this half-buried turkey drumstick leg sticking out of the garden and no one else around. That could be interesting, couldn't it? So, as I said, embarrassing moments. Obviously, we took him into the car, and for a month afterwards, we'd have to get out of the van, walk him to that corner, let him see that there was no black bags and there was nothing else there, because he was absolutely going to go straight out looking for that turkey. So they're my 2 stories that I may share with clients. I've actually been out to clients and had Finn with me, who performs lovely. He does all of his wiping his feet. "Finn, have you got a cold?" He does a sneeze, and they think he's fantastic. And then he has on occasion actually robbed something belonged to the client's dog and tried to bury it in their garden. So yeah, we know he's quite good at burying. I tell clients, "Oh, I taught him that." Yeah, taught him how to bury it. He can do it on command, really. So I'm sure you guys have your own embarrassing stories. Do please share them with me, and or PM them to me later on. You'll probably find them turning up in a comedy skit at some stage. So my next one is one that I wouldn't necessarily share with clients, and this is a doozy. This is one, when I mentioned at the start, I mentioned the word trauma. So I did actually a little bit of prep, a little bit of work, because obviously I was coming on to talk on a conference where we've had lots of fantastic speakers, and I thought, gosh, I better prep something, I better do something. So I did. I have 3 notes. I have, actually, that's a lie. I have 1 note and 2 pictures. That's actually a lie. I have 1 word, which is trauma. Hope you can see it there. And 2 pictures. So that was my prep that I did for today. And that sets the basis for this next story. So the story actually happens on the foot of an email that I got from a client. So I'm actually going to pull this email up. And so the client emails and they say, "Dear Siobhan, we'd like to inquire about training for a recently acquired, that's an unusual word, isn't it? Acquired Wackerdoodle." And I had to read that again. Wackerdoodle. Surely it has to be working cocker cross poodle. That makes sense? That makes sense to me. That's what I was thinking. And then I was thinking to myself, and I'll introduce picture number 2. Picture number 2 is spaghetti brain. This is my brain on a regular basis. This is what happens when I get an email like that and my brain goes off in another tangent altogether. So I'm thinking, what the hell is a wackerdoodle? What would a wackerdoodle sound like? Indeed, what would a wackerdoodle look like? And I thought, wackerdoodle, I think it would sound like this. Right? I can actually hear this as a cockerel crowing in the back. So I reply back to the client and I say, "Thank you very much for your inquiry. This is the service I can offer. Would you mind explaining what breed your dog is?" And the lady came back and she told me, and I kid you not, I'm going to read this. Literally, I am reading this word for word. She replied, "The dad was in fact a Wheaton Terrier and mum was a Cockapoo," which I'm sure you know is Cocker Spaniel cross Poodle. So that's our Wackerdoodle. Well, I mean, that completely blew my mind. I was thinking, well, first of all, I was thinking, why? Why in God's name would you do that to yourself? And then I'm thinking to myself, why are dogs getting all of these fancy titles? I mean, you've got so many different dogs out there and they've all got these amazing fancy titles now. It used to be German Shepherd, Spaniel, Poodle. And now they're all called things like a Bouvier, the poo-poo. Yep, not kidding you. A Bouvier, the Bernese, a Bernedoodle, and one of my all-time favourites, I just cannot help but laugh when I hear this one, a Chiweenie. What breed of dog do you own? Oh, I've got a Chiweenie. Really? I'm sorry to hear that. So, yeah, a Chiweenie is some of the dogs that are out there. And they've got all these fancy names, and we get called human. I kind of start to feel a bit cheated. Because really what they're doing is they are describing the dog's genetics and labelling it. And if you were to think about it and look at our genetics, I'm sure if my genetics were tested, I'd have some German and some Swedish and obviously Irish blood running through there. So then I thought to myself, right, what if you're out at a do with your husband? Remember when we used to be able to go out and socialise? And instead of my husband introducing me and they say, "Oh, you know, what does your wife do?" "Oh, she's a dog trainer. She's a dog trainer." Because dog training isn't taken that serious as a career over here in Ireland. We're still fighting to have that established. So instead of being introduced as your career, what they could do is say something like, "Oh, what breed is your wife?" "Oh yeah, well," and he could say with pride, right? He could say with pride, he could say, yeah, my wife is actually a wild German Irish doodle. I mean, there's got to be poodle in there somewhere. They're in bloody everything nowadays. So I could be a wild German Irish doodle. And yeah, he could say that with lots of pride. And that got me talking and laughing away to myself. And then I noticed something. I noticed that my kids had started to walk around with these little notepads. And they're walking around with these notepads and they're taking down these little notes. February 23rd. Mum talking to herself in the kitchen again. Making strange cockerel noises. Mum laughing to herself. Calling herself a doodle. And I thought, what if my kids would consider this traumatic? I wonder if they would be lying on some psychiatrist's couch in years to come and saying something like, "Oh yeah, we had to live through this with my mum. This is what my mum was like." And then I thought, nah, they don't know trauma. Let me tell you about trauma. So I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to go back to the early 80s, somewhere around 1985, 86. I was 13 years of age. Hormones were just starting to kick in, starting to realise boys weren't these disgusting, smelly things. And back then, before the time of the internet banking, We had people like your milkman that would come to the door every Friday, and you'd pay him for the milk that he delivered during the week. And we had an insurance man, and the insurance man would come to the door and you'd pay him for the insurance every week. And at the time, the guy, Martin was the guy, and Martin would come and he would collect the money, and then off he'd go and you'd see him the following week. No big deal. Except Martin went on holidays. And when Martin went on holidays, he was replaced by a guy called Colin, which, as far as my recollection is, he was somewhere about 18, 19, 20. Young guy, fit, fresh out of diapers. It probably his first job. And it was his turn to collect the money. And this is where I paused and I introduced my dogs, because of course there is a dog involved, hence the title of it. And along comes Jerry McTavish. And Jerry McTavish was a Scottish Terrier mix. Jerry was a great character. He was lots of fun, and he was always getting us into trouble. But back in the 80s in Ireland, it was the norm for your dog to go outside. He'd open the door, he'd run out, he'd do whatever. And then what happened was Jerry became best pals with a dog that lived next door called Ben. Ben and Jerry. I could have patented that, could have been rich. Spag brain again. So Ben, anyway, was this lovely medium-sized staffy lab mix, no fancy titles, just an old crossbreed. Ben and Jerry used to have great crack, but they had an arch enemy. And the arch enemy was Max, who was a German Shepherd that lived up the road. And Jerry was very typical terrier, really brave, behind the glass window in the front room. So Jerry would come along and he'd sit on the back of the couch, and every time he saw Max, he would bark, 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 bark. So what happened was, Jerry was sitting on the back of the couch. He'd see Max, he'd say bark, 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 run out to the front door. Of course the door would be open for him. Jerry would run up to the right, barking at Max, who would give chase. And Jerry would run by the house, and we'd be thinking, what's he doing? Why is he running past his house? Why isn't he coming in? He'd be running in to go and bark at Ben's front door. So Ben would be let out, and of course Max would see Ben, and he would take off, and then Ben would chase him. So essentially what would happen is Ben would actually start the trouble. Jerry would start the trouble, and Ben would go and finish it. And then Jerry would come in, supporting the row from behind the window. Really brave. So that's the kind of character that you had with Jerry. And then what happened was, in the midst of all of this, my brother got engaged. And one of his friends, as a laugh, gave him, and I'm assuming his fiancée, now wife, gave them my next picture, this very innocent looking carrot. So hopefully you guys can see this. So this very innocent looking carrot wasn't a very innocent carrot at all. When you pulled away the green stalk, you were left holding a green stalk with a willy attached to it. Yep, you heard me. I said willy. So 1985, Catholic Ireland. This carrot appeared one night after some celebrations in the house. My mother lost her reason. Get that out of the house, never to be seen again. As far as I was concerned, it was gone. So now we come back to Colin and Siobhan's hormones and being a teenager. So Colin arrived the first week that Martin was away on his holidays. So I made sure the next week that I was the person down to answer the door to him. And I did. Brush the hair, go and answer the door. And Jerry, of course, has to be involved in everything. Sorry, husband, I should have told you this beforehand. So Jerry run out to the door with me when I answered the door, and I said, oh, Colin, do you mind dogs? He said, oh, no, not at all. I like them. I went, Jerry, go get your ball. Go on, get your ball. So while Jerry was off getting his ball, I was inside getting the insurance books, getting the money ready, and I came back out to the hall to find Colin standing there holding the green stalk with the willy attached, and Jerry, the other end of the hall, holding the rubber carrot piece. And Colin is looking at me and I'm looking at him, and in my mind there's this space of, oh my God, what has just happened? What will I say? And he looked at me and I said to him, oh, it's not mine, that's my brother's. And literally the carrot just went up in the air, down onto the ground. Colin went absolutely red, completely red. I handed him the money rather bashfully, and then I disappeared. And Colin also disappeared, and he was never ever seen again. So I'm not quite sure when I titled this as being embarrassing moments and trauma, if the trauma was mine, my kids, probably my kids now, if any of them are watching this, or if it was poor Colin's. Colin, if you have become a dog trainer after that, I do apologise for that incident. So yeah, so that is my short story, some light-hearted humour on St. Patrick's Day. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it. Raise a toast to everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And if you want, you can find some more of my comedy skits. They are on my Facebook page. Thank you for listening. Bye.